Welcome to Ridgecrest Talk. I'm Tonia Pyle, and I wanted to bring these ladies who are going to share with us today about our library system and options to keep funds going, to keep our library system going. So please enjoy meeting Miranda Lomeli-O'Reilly
Yes.
and Mandy Walters.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, your organization is Advocates for
Library Enhancement.
Library Enhancement.
Or we also go by ALE.
ALE.
Yes.
Okay, that's fun.
It is.
That's fun. Bring it on. Okay, so with the Irish name, that seems sort of
Fitting.
fitting, yes. But all right, so now, as opposed to a public privatization of library funding, your grassroots organization is interested in bringing a library tax.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how did you two ladies come to be part of the library enhancement organization?
Go, you can take this one.
Okay. I actually met Miranda when she came into the Southwest Library in Bakersfield, and she had a question, and I was the librarian on duty to answer it.
Okay.
And so that's when we met, and then maybe more than a year later, we got, she called me and she said, I heard that there was a potential that the library was going to be privatized or outsourced, and I don't know enough about it to make a decision, so I thought I would call my librarian and see what it was all about.
So we sat down for sushi, and then we wanted to look at really what was the issue maybe plaguing our library system. Was it mismanagement? Was it funding issue? And we wanted to look at really what the key issue was. And we found that it wasn't mismanagement, that it was actually chronic underfunding. We're the lowest funded library system for our size in the entire state of California.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're a library patron then. You're not a librarian or someone who has a pension or some pension pending.
I don't have a pension.
You just love the library I do.
So I grew up in a remote area. My dad's a Marine, so I grew up in 29 Palms.
Okay.
So there's not a lot to do out there, and my mom works on base, so you get dropped off at the library or the pool. And, so I feel like that was my third home or my third parent, and that was my other home is the library. And I know we have a lot of disconnected youth here in Kern County, and we need a place for them to go, and it's the library.
The library has it going on, I'll tell you that. I love the library. And you're a librarian.
I am. I moved here from Arkansas about 2 years ago. I moved here from a county in north central Arkansas in the Ozark Mountains. The county population was 40,000, and we had 7-day-a-week state-of-the-art library service. And so when my husband's company said, go out, look at Kern County, look at Bakersfield, one of my first stops, because I was already a library employee back home, was the Old Memorial Library. And I went by on a Monday, and at the time, the library was closed. They weren't open on Mondays. And it was shocking to me, coming from this tiny north central Arkansas county, how I could come to this very, to me, metropolitan city, Bakersfield, and the library be closed.
Yeah, not state-of-the-art.
And not state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
Once I went back the next day, it was very disappointing, a very disappointing experience, because I expected, if my tiny town, can have such a wonderful library, how can this be? How can this be in Bakersfield?
Mm-hmm. So when we were able to zero in on what the real issue is, we looked at, to other areas that were similar to us, who that had a library system that was thriving and flourishing, and we looked at Fresno County. And Fresno County has a dedicated sales tax specifically for their library. They have the 1/8 cent sales tax. It's called Measure B. They passed it in 1998. And we think that Kern County can do the same thing here. And we don't need a public-private partnership. We don't need outsourcing. We don't need a middleman to take our tax dollars away from our county. We need to reinvest it here in our system.
So it would be strictly a Kern County tax?
Yes.
So it would just go on the ballot as a library tax. What's involved in getting that initiative then? Do you have to get people to sign a petition?
So there are two ways. There are two pathways to get a ballot, a measure on the ballot. One is to get 3 of the 5 supervisors to put it on the ballot. So that's saying we don't necessarily endorse this, but we endorse letting the people.
Option.
Yes, we are. We believe in the democratic process. We want people to be able to vote on this. We believe in people having the option and the choice. If 3 do not put it on the ballot, that is when a signature campaign would start, and you need to get a certain percentage of the voters, registered voters, or people who have voted previously.
Voted in the last
Yes.
governor's election
Yes.
for governor.
So for us, that number is, Mandy?
Between 25,000 and 40,000 people, between that many signatures.
That's doable. If you
It
had,
is
if you had to
doable.
do it. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yes.
not.
We are very, very much hoping that our supervisors will see the merit in letting the people decide. We are stressing to them that placing it on the ballot doesn't mean you agree with it or you endorse it. It is solely letting the people choose, and that would make the process much more streamlined and much simpler.
Oh, yes. Have you talked to them, or what has the feedback been from the?
They're great politicians, so they haven't taken a public stance, and so I also don't want to ever speak for any of them, so I wouldn't put anything out there.
Until they've put it out there and made it.
But I know
position.
many of them, when they were city council members, that they voted for quality of life issues, in favor of quality of life issues, and this is definitely a quality of life issue.
Well, we're getting ready to take a break here, our first break, and so we'll come back and talk more about some of the issues involving funding for our libraries.
Yes.
and
All right.
keeping them going. I love the library.
Everyone does. It's an amazing space. Yes.
Okay, so we'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with Miranda Lomeli-O'Reilly
Yes, you got it.
and Mandy Walters from the Advocates for Library Enhancement. And I am so glad you're here. I can't tell you how many people are very deeply concerned about our libraries, passionately concerned.
Yes.
And people love the library. And so I am wondering myself, because we've had some other people present a public privatization option, and I'm wondering, are these options mutually exclusive, or can they all fund the library if they're passionate about the library? Let's just get everybody the taxes, then
A public-private partnership doesn't bring any funding to the library system. So that's mainly why we're opposed to privatization, is we don't see the value that it's going to bring the library, right, as the system is, how it is funded now.
And it's really important to remember that if we bring in a private for-profit company, they're not a charity. They're not going to forego profit to make our library system better. They're going to be sure that they take their profit first, and then whatever is left is what they have to fund the library. So if we passed a tax and they then decided to privatize or outsource our libraries, we're just sending more tax dollars away in the form of profits to this company. We believe that the best path is to keep it local, keep it here, and reinvest in ourselves.
Okay, so you would say that they are mutually exclusive.
Well-
to some extent.
Well, we know that there's only one company that does this privatization, which is LSSI, and we know that they have run...
LSSI.
Yes.
Tell us what that is.
Yes. Library Services Systems and Services Incorporated.
Okay.
And that is the company that does the public-private partnership or privatization, the outsourcing. There's only one company that does it.
So
And
when they outsource, what does that mean?
that means that they take over all of the employees.
Okay.
So all county
You
employees.
become then an employee of the Library Systems
And Services.
and Services Incorporated.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you're no longer an employee. So they just take over the employees. Okay. And so I shouldn't put you on the spot to explain
No,
their
go for-
program.
I mean, go ahead. Do you have one specific? I mean, if I have the information, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
So
So you would then be employees of a private company.
Yes.
And that oftentimes it is a scary thing if you're working for one company, or whether it's the government, in this case it's the county. When there's a change, that's a little disruptive, I think, for employees.
well, depends on how the rollout is done.
Depending on the rollout.
Depending on how that's done, and we know in this case it has not gone smoothly with all the outcry and the anger, and as we've heard, the Ridgecrest is a very vocal area that has said that they don't want their libraries privatized,
Okay.
and that's
So that's some of the feedback you've
Oh,
gotten
yes,
from the
definitely.
people at the library here.
yes.
So, so you again decided that this library tax, and I think they've done this across the country, haven't they?
Yes, in
A lot of
fact,
library systems have.
most library systems, in fact, in the state of California, there are only 2 counties that don't have a dedicated tax, and that's usually a sales, a parcel, or a property tax. So it's Kern County and Shasta County. We're the only 2 that are left that are still general fund departments. Everybody else has divested themselves. Shasta County runs 3 branches. We are running 24 and 2 bookmobiles. So we are a very lean operation on the allotted dollars that we get.
Interesting. So you said you were at the Rotary today.
Yes. Oh,
And
they're amazing.
That's quite an organization, and I mean, if anyone's interested in schools and sponsoring always students, things of this nature, what kind of feedback did you get?
Great
It
feedback.
was very positive.
Good
was-
questions? I mean,
Yes,
what-
yes, insightful questions. They wanted to also know how you would get a measure on the ballot. They wanted to know how they could do that. They wanted to know specifically what they could do. Yeah, and they were. It was great feedback. We had an amazing time. They were wonderful.
Uh-huh. So, well, of course, I hate to ask where it would go if they passed the fair tax.
Oh.
That's another whole thing, right?
Oh,
we won't go there yet.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll wait on that.
Okay.
That would change our whole
Conversation.
conversation
Okay.
probably. But now, what are you most excited about with having the tax? Does that seem like it would just solve everything to you, or?
Well, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. So we need, we have a director now who has a vision. All of our library system has a new director, Nancy Kerr, who has a real direction on what a 21st century library looks like. And our goal is to get that here in Kern County.
Step it up.
Yes. Well, the libraries of 2015 are no longer what we call books and buildings. So they're no longer places where you're going to go in, you're going to pick up your book, and you're going to leave. They are destinations in communities. They have spaces for teens to hang out and do homework, use a computer, play a video game, puzzles.
programs.
The idea that
Yes.
you linger, that you don't just go and check out your book and then leave, is that you go to a space, you use it, maybe use it as a co-working space. If you were working on, you're like a freelance reporter, and you go there and, you're working on things with other people.
Research or-
Yes.
Absolutely. It's supposed to be a place not only of information and learning, but of recreation and fun. And we are having a very hard time making that leap to a 21st century library here in Kern County because of the funding level. Libraries that are well funded have green screens and technology programs and editing labs and maker spaces, and we can't even keep our roofs from literally falling in on our patrons here.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk about more library resources. Thank you. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our guests from Advocates for the Library Enhancement Organization, Mandy Walters and Miranda Lomeli-O'Reilly. I love to say that, although I stumble over it a little bit. But you were just talking about the ceiling caving in or something of that nature.
Absolutely. One of the reasons that we need a greater budget is that our infrastructure, our library infrastructure, is quite literally crumbling. We have many, many branches with tarps over book areas and tables catching water and ceiling debris. We have termite and cockroach infestations.
You know, I have to mention while you say that, I happened to notice when I went to the library this past week, which I had to find a pay, and she really let me know it was overdue. I do apologize, but there was air conditioning that had the oddest sort of
they're re-roofing.
convention. Is that it?
Yeah.
So they're in the process of doing something there. Okay, but I was wondering about that because they were strings holding up this
Yes.
sort of precarious looking.
So it should be noted that Ridgecrest is not getting a new ceiling because something catastrophic happened or anything of that nature. It is simply the R's turn, if that makes sense. Rathbun Branch in Bakersfield got a new ceiling, Rosamond got a new ceiling, and Ridgecrest got a new roof. So this, the roof honestly should have been probably done a decade ago, a very long time ago. Our county simply has not invested in library infrastructure, and if we have buildings that are cockroach infested, that aren't comfortable spaces to utilize, why would anyone want to go there? So a large portion of what we would like to see with an increase in funding is to make better spaces to use on top of simply being open and providing books.
Well, it makes a statement when you start saying tarps over the books.
Yeah,
It's not like you're wanting to maybe develop a big elaborate.
No, we don't want gold-plated walls. We don't. But in Rosamond, they had in the children's section, in where you're supposed to take your kids.
And have the dog listen to you read the book.
And spark the love of literacy. We have trash cans on top of, bookshelves catching falling debris and water. And, I wouldn't want to take my students to that space. She wouldn't want to take her children to that space. And we think other people feel similarly to us. And from the reception that we've gotten when we take our presentation out or when we take this discussion out, they feel similarly, and they also want to invest in education in our library system. So we're very happy when we get that reception.
And so, okay, so you've made a good contrast then between your hope to create a library tax, and how much exactly is the tax then?
So what we would like to do is model it on Fresno counties, which is 1/8 of 1 penny. And what that looks like practically is that when you go to the store and spend $100, they will add 12.5 cents to your bill, and that will be dedicated to the library. So it is very, very small, but it will be revolutionary for our library system.
Okay, 1/8 of 1 cent.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, or 12 cents to the $100 at the store.
Yes.
And it's taxed then when you make a purchase?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a
on
sales tax.
Oh, okay.
In
It's a
stereo.
That's funny. Sales tax, okay. Very
And
good.
we
So
chose
it's a
it
consumption.
to model after Fresno County because we know that they're a similar demographic to us.
And you like what you've seen there?
We just know they so they passed it in 1998 and then they re-upped it for 4 years.
No, they started with 4.
4 and then 8 and then they just re-upped it in 2012 for 16 years. So they saw what was happening with their library. You know, they've built new branches. They have branches that are open 7 days a week. And they said, you know, this small 1/8 of 1 cent, we're not feeling it, but we see the difference that is going on in Fresno County, and we want to keep it. And we think Kern County, like, we should, you know, it's very easy. We're very similar to them. You know, it's easy for us to say, look, like, you know, we'll never be LA County. That's fine. We'll never be San Francisco. We don't want to be. But we can be similar to other things in Central Valley.
Very good. What haven't I asked you would like to share with our viewers? Is there anything in particular other than?
Why do we love the library? Well,
Tell me about some of your favorite programs from the library.
So I actually did tutoring for English language learners.
Okay.
So that was probably the
done that.
most enriching experiences.
Through the library you did
Yeah.
that?
So I learned how to become a tutor for English language learners, and then I tutored at the library.
Well, that's a wonderful project.
Yes.
But it was a library project.
Yes, yes.
Because we have a literacy group here.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with the Berlitz method, and that's such an enriching experience when
Yes.
you get to experience other cultures through people and sharing language.
Yes.
So,
It's so important.
yeah. And how about you? What are some of your favorite programs?
Oh, I don't think I could pick just one.
I know. I know what you mean.
It is my favorite thing when
Like
I
such
see
a library
kids.
nerd.
I know, when I see kids come in and they're excited to be there. I mean, they don't even have to walk out with an armful of books. They can sit on the floor and read while they're there and maybe leave without books. But if they've come in and they utilize the space, they feel that it's safe, that they can be there, have an after-school snack, read a book, do some homework. They know they can talk to the library staff, and that the library staff will help them if they need it. I actually helped a little girl with her Common Core math this week. It was a challenge, but it was exciting. And so just to forge those relationships and make it a hub for the community, that's such a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved with a student whose life has, been, he was a homeless student and he was going down a really bad path, and he wanted to join the military, and there were no copies of the ASVAD practice book at school, so I gave him directions to the public library. He went there, he got the practice book, and he came back next week, and he was like, Miss O'Reilly, can you help me with this? And I'm like, yes, I can. And, he ended up graduating and going into the Marine Corps, and I knew that this student's life had gone down a much better path, because the one that he was on, I'm really happy with
That
the
you can
impact.
send him to the library.
I know it seems like it might be minimal, but it was very impactful for this one person. And the librarian took time out to explain to him, this is, the time that you have, and this is how you do it. And, he was so giddy.
I want to thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
and sharing your passion with us about the advocates for library enhancement and this 1/8 on 1 cent sales tax you'd like to get on the ballot. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You bet.